So this room, this side of the house is, again, designed just like the other side of the house. There are these two long transfer beams and these cross beams that are carrying the weight of the upstairs over our heads. And there's another fireplace down here. This one's a little more cave-like. Doesn't have the Japanese sort of associations that the other one does. But you know, since there's no basement under this house, commonly, you know, when you clean out your, you know, you get rid of the ashes from your fireplace, there's an ash pit underneath there that's in the basement that you've emptied out every 100 years or so when it gets full. But they didn't have that here. There is a little hole back there, but usually when they had fires down here, they'd have to actually take the ashes out and throw them away instead of just disposing of them in a pit.
The servants did that.
The servants did that, exactly. Exactly.
And both sides are playrooms?
Well, this was called the billiard room, which I don't think there was ever a billiard table here, but that was the name Wright gave to sort of the family room, we might call it today. And it was actually kind of unusual at this time to have this informal family space down here. Then the other side was sort of a schoolroom and a playroom for the children. And it connected through those doors out to that, what used to be a play yard that had grass in it. It's now gravel. And that had iron gates on either side of it on the outside because the Robies were concerned about kidnapping, so they wanted a secure place for the children to be able to play outdoors.
Is that the height of that brick wall? Or
yes. No, that's the proper height for that wall. And it actually had to be dismantled, and they put in new footings underneath it because the original footings weren't big enough, so it was actually leaning over and was in danger of collapsing. It was the wall that surrounds the garage courtyard that had been lowered to about that height, actually. Yeah, and so you'll notice maybe when you go back into the garage court that the bricks on the inside, those are all the new bricks. And they're still, even though they're very close, they're still somewhat different from the original bricks. Part of that is because, as I said, they can't make them the same way anymore, but also because these original bricks were exposed to 80 years of coal fires and soot. The air was a lot dirtier than it is now, and the new bricks probably will never experience that, so they'll never really age or weather in the same way. All right, well, let's go back into the children's room.
How long did the rooms live here?
His company went bankrupt, so he had to sell the house to settle all of his debts.
Question about the lighting.
Yeah.
I've been through the Dana Thomas house in Springfield, and they mentioned that back in, you know, when that house was constructed,
1902,
the wiring wasn't capable of supporting anything like we see in here today, the brightness. And they have had special 7.5 watt bulbs made for all the fixtures. Are we going to see that in here, or is it because you're bringing groups here all the time? Do you need the light for?
I think we would be really disappointed if we saw the house in very, very dim light. But it, at one point in time, the globe lights that are in the living room and dining room, we had 25 watt bulbs in there, and it was very dark. It was very dim, especially at night. But that's the way it was. So the curator is the one who has to make that decision. So I know many other historic homes do have the low wattage of bulbs, and so maybe we will go back with that.
And that's why there's so many fixtures, is because
exactly.
there were 10 watt bulbs or whatever.
The only other thing that's interesting about this, and I don't mean to belabor the fact, but the sconces, if you have a very low wattage of bulb in that, it doesn't reflect the light onto the wall and to the ceiling. You need a more powerful bulb to do that. So then that would kind of destroy the purpose of those sconces.
We have special tours at night sometimes, so come back when the house is finished and take one of those tours.
Watch for them.
Yeah. And if anyone's interested, I've been sort of carrying this around, but there's a couple different plans of the house, and the red lines show where the steel structure is, so you can get a little sense of how that's laid out. And there's some pictures of restoration and some of the things they did that I talked about. But I want to thank you all very much for coming. This was a great experiment for me to give this tour. Like I said, I talk about the technology a lot anyway, so this was a chance for me to go crazy. Now that you've taken this tour, I like to say you're all part of our restoration effort because your money goes into our fund. So thank you very much for that. If you didn't come here and take the tour, there'd be no point in us doing all this. So we have to thank you for making this all possible. And You can exit out through this door, which goes to the bathrooms, and also, not coincidentally, back to the bookstore, where you can help support us a little more. So thanks very much.